Again with Brad in Pittsburgh. Brad, how are you tonight?
What's going on, man? How y'all doing tonight?
Good, thanks.
Well, I got to talk about A, B. And I come to the conclusion that he has ADD, and we all know that. And I won't be surprised if he orchestrated this whole thing, too. You feel me? But on the back burner of that, do you think Belichick is going to put up with all this A-B stuff this season?
He's been through this. Albert Hainsworth was facing a sexual lawsuit back in 2011. He's had a lot of other problems that he's had to deal with. I think that's a legitimate question. Thank you for the call. Paul, how does New England respond to this? And again, if you read what I read tonight with this lawsuit that was filed, it's long, but you have to read it, you will find that it seems credible. Whether or not it is has to be proven in court. But if it is, how long does New England deal with this guy?
I think that if it is credible and they find, it to be something that there's at least a little bit of substance to, I wouldn't shock me if they'll release him.
And then what?
Again, I don't know what happens to Antonio Brown. I think the thing is, if he gets released by the Patriots, you know what? He could be done for at least till next year.
It could be career-ending.
Until next year. So, I don't know all the details. You said you read some of the emails and things of the such. I didn't.
Yeah, again, they have to be validated in court, but it seems like if you read it and see it and it looks.
Here's the thing. If there's any truth to it and, it looks like it's going to become something that's a real problem, it wouldn't shock me if the Patriots cut him.
It was ironic today. Tom Brady took a picture with Antonio Brown in his house.
Yeah.
And
like Derek Carr did.
And boy, did that not last very long.
My quarterback, or whatever. Yeah, we get it.
Let's go out to Nick and Erwin. What's up, Nick? How are you? Welcome to the Sports Call.
What's up, Zeise, man? What's up, Pomp? First-time caller.
Appreciate it.
How you doing?
Thanks.
How you doing?
Good. How are you? Hey, just calling, Pomp. I was looking at your tweets. 18 out of your 20 tweets on Saturday were about chess. Give it up, man. You're like a crazy ex-psycho girlfriend.
No, I've believed. You know what? Okay, fine. You can think that. Maybe I have. I know that I've heard too many people talk about orchestration here. I've heard from people, and it's not just me. You look at Jerry Rice on Twitter. You look at Larry Johnson, former running back, on Twitter. Look at people who know him and have suspected the same thing that I've suspected. I'm done with that. I said it. That's what I believe. We'll see what happens after that.
Yeah.
But I think I have.
Don't comment on the biggest story nationally in the National Football League, which is the biggest league in it. Don't comment on it anymore, Bob.
Yeah. Kirk and Armour. What's up, Kirk? How are you?
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're fine, thanks.
Well, I've discovered what AB's problem is, Bob, and it is that wherever he goes, he brings himself with himself. That's the problem. If he would leave himself somewhere else and go somewhere, he might be all right. But anyway, Bob, this is what I was leading up to and trying to talk to you about last year with a number of your guests, that the discipline problem in the Steelers, everything's coming out now. What this guy's behavior was about, these charges, if found true, are very serious. You had players not finishing blocks, players not doing things properly, a field goal kicker missing 3 field goals that cost them 3 games. This stuff, it's all interconnected.
3 field goals? How does that connect to anything? That's the life of a kicker. I don't understand what conclusion that is. Chris Boswell, like a lot of kickers, and did you see, by the way, Adam Vinatieri the other day? He missed 3 field goals and an extra point. When was the last time he ever did that?
Well,
how does that tie to anything?
Well,
if you're talking about enabling
I think what
him,
the guy's
the
saying.
Steelers
I think
did
what the guy.
enable
No,
him.
but I think that what the guy was saying was that the Steelers last year had a team that just wasn't focused. They had too many things going on, too many distractions, and it manifested itself on the field.
Okay, fine. That's okay.
I'm just saying,
That's fine. Paul in Verona joins us right now on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. What's up, Paul?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
We're good, thanks.
I have 2 comments you can respond to, and then I'll hang up. We had 2 third down and 1, and we have a quarterback, 6'4". What happened to the quarterback sneak? And I really think that team was so out-coached by New England. I'll hang up.
I think it was out everything, Paul. I think But I agree with you. The run game, first of all, I thought they had an advantage ball on their offensive line. I thought they did. I thought they had a good one and could push. But jet sweeps time and time again.
But what does it mean, Bob, in the end? What does it mean if you don't utilize your run game?
It means that you're not committed to it, and you need to be committed to it.
You got to be committed to
Right.
it and get it to a point where it's really good. That's the problem.
And they didn't do that. And so when you run the ball for the whole game 13 times for 32 yards, that's not a commitment.
Well,
And if you were going to beat New England, and I thought this was one of the keys, you have to, number one, keep Brady away from the football on offense. And the best way to do that is long, sustained drives. Now, you know that, but doing it is another question. But they hurt themselves by not committing to the run. I totally agree with that, Paul. All right, let's go out to Charles in El Club. What's up, Charles? How are you?
Oh, sir, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Listen, what I think is going on with AB is that I think he forgot how he got up to the top of the mountain. And when he got there, I think he forgot to enjoy how he climbed the mountain.
I agree with that.
What somebody needs to do is walking back down the mountain and tell him to enjoy the effort of climbing back up the mountain. And maybe we get back that ball player that we once enjoyed seeing playing football on Sunday, every Sunday, because he's not a bad person outside of everything.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Wow.
Your argument was good until you brought up that point, but Charles, thank you. I think that's good advice. And quite frankly, I wonder if anyone on his inner circle would ever offer that advice to him.
it seems like he surrounds himself with a lot of yes men, doesn't it?
It does. And the ones who go against him then come out and write stuff about him, and then he attacks them back.
Right.
Jesse Washington,
That's the
remember
problem.
that story?
That's the problem with the guys he surrounds himself. All seem to be yes men that tell him how great he is,
Yeah, you can't have that.
and enable him.
We can't have that. If you have that, then you're just doing more of the same. And you got to, people need to realize, I tweeted tonight, Paul, I was watching a special on the Golf Channel about Arnold Palmer. Today would have been his 90th birthday. I wish, and we do need more Arnold Palmers in this world. People who are committed to not only sportsmanship, but he is a generous person. He was one of those guys who got out of his way. When he got a letter sent to him, he would respond in kind. If he was asked to sign an autograph, he would do it legibly. He told Peyton Manning, if you're going to sign that autograph, make sure they know who they're reading. That kind of stuff is old school. It's missing today. We need more Arnold Palmers in today's sports. We got to take a break. Bill, Pete, Todd, and Mike all next right here on Pittsburgh CW.